Welcome to today's Destination Unknown. I'm your host, Alyssa Hall. Today we're going to be kicking off a new series I promised you last year, which is going to be the Ruins series. What are you talking about, Alyssa? Ruins? I'm talking about Nordic ruins. I know it's backward, but you can still read it. So this is a great book that I use quite often when doing ruin research in the past. Let's see, it's written by Paul Rees Mountfort, great author. And he goes into a lot of depth. What I really like about this particular book, before we start talking about today's ruin, is that it goes into depth in a way that you don't get. Certainly the online resources, they don't always have a chance to delve into a lot of the Anglo-Saxon roots, some of the Nordic roots of these ruins, where these stories came from. And we're going to touch on some of those stories today, but just know that there's a lot more material behind each one of these ruins. So today we're going to start by talking about what was my first ruin. It's also presented itself first in other people's experience, so I felt like it was appropriate for me to present as my first ruin of the series, Gebo. Gebo is the shape of what we might call an X. I have a couple different ruins to show you. This particular one is carved on, it's a, not carved, but wood burn, the burning of the wood, that engraving style. There's a word for that, not etching. You know what I'm saying. This is Gebo on that particular set of ruins that I have. These are carved into wood. And then I also have a set that is stone. I'm trying to catch the light right there so you can see the inscription, because when it's not lit up, I've had these ruins for so long. See how the light, it's etched in the stone as well. And it used to have white inside to mark it, but I've had these ruins for literally over 20 years now, about 20, and I used to sleep with them all the time. In fact, some of my ruins even have like little marks where they've broken over the years. I kept my ruins, I still do. This particular pack gets kept in this bag, and I slept with it under my pillow for years. The first thing I would do in the morning is reach into the bag and pull out a single ruin for the day. And that was part of my ruins path back in my 30s. I did that for quite a while. So it's really fun for me to come back to ruins. So let's get into talking about today's ruin, which is Gebo. Gebo itself, the key word to associate with Gebo would be gift. Like any of our divination series, we know that keywords are great for helping you memorize and trying to get an association to the pictorial representation, but there's a lot of depth to the explanation besides just the keyword. So let's get into what Gebo means. Gebo itself, like I said, gift is the key word, but really the concept here is exchange. That by giving something, by giving a gift, I have exchanged energy, and the person receiving this gift is also energetically exchanging with me. What do you mean by that, Alyssa? In Norse belief, certainly in the Anglo-Saxon, when we look at the poems and such, the word ring giver is something that we're going to take a look at next, because this really highly informs what it means to give a gift or receive a gift in this particular society. So let's back that up for a second. When were ruins first came around? I wrote some notes about this. Our earliest runic inscriptions were about 150 AD. We know that this is a Germanic writing system, and the oldest form of this system is called the Elder Furthok. The Elder Furthok is what I will be presenting to you as our Nordic ruins. That being the case, there are 24 ruins within the Elder Furthok, and they're broken up into sets of 8. Gebo is the 7th of the first set. And in fact, Gebo being number 7 is exactly why we have the belief, the cultural belief, that 7 is a lucky number. Lucky 7. 7 means you got your gift, you got recognition, and you had an exchange of energy given to you. Let's talk about that next. So ring giver. The concept of being a ring giver, really the term ring giver, it would translate to what we would also use interchangeably as the word king or overlord. So when we had the warriors, soldiers maybe, I don't know, I think warriors would be a better term, who would then fight on behalf of their king, of their overlord. They would come and return from battles in a show of gratitude for their sacrifices that they've shown on the battlefield. The ring giver would give that gift. Now, the ring itself, it could possibly be a finger ring, but more often these were arm rings or neck rings, is what they would call them. And so these were very specifically meant to be adornment, and they were worn in a way that other people would recognize these are your deeds. You have been recognized by, you've been recognized and given a ring. You are of significance because you have exchanged energy with our overlord, with our king, with our ruler. And that elevates you in society to that extent also. So to have a ring and to be a ring bearer of that sense is to show your loyalty and your feasance to the unity of the whole. Let's move forward a little bit and talk again about what it means about unity. So also with the concept of gift giving in the society, if you give a gift, it's also a way of binding yourself with this person. Not at all dissimilar to when we give gifts as rings at a wedding. We are binding ourselves in that moment with that gift to our beloved. The concept applies here, and it can apply to partners such as sacred unions or marriages, but it's not just romantic partnerships that might be governed by this concept in Gebo. The exchange of energy and gifts can also happen as a balancing point, and we kind of see that with the two X's, that these are equal and balanced in the exchange point. The point where they meet is becoming the point of connection, literally. And sometimes that's seen as being a pictorial representation of the sexual act for partners and the giving, gift giving, and receiving of that moment. But on a larger term, it's talking about balancing. If you overgive or overpledge yourself on either side, either as the person doing sacrifices or the person who's going out to gain those rewards, you will find yourself quickly imbalanced in your world. So we don't want that. So there's also the concept of union and balance between giving and receiving when this particular ruin comes up. As you can tell already, I've talked nonstop. I'm trying to get all this information as fast as I can to you guys in our short time together. But already you can see how far this concept has expanded past the key term gift. And yet it always comes back to that. So that's going to help you. I feel like keywords are very helpful for learning ruins, but only if, as you understand, the same as with the little white book when it comes to our tarot, understanding that a keyword is really only going to act as a mnemonic to try to get you back to the larger concept that's being expressed in a reading when this were to come forward. So when we talk about reading the ruins, just like tarot cards, you can have reversed ruins, but this particular ruin, as you might imagine, it can't reverse itself because it doesn't reverse. It doesn't matter which way you pull it. Either way, it still represents itself the same. It can present itself as being maligned, I think is the term. There's a term they use where it's like ill-disposed, maybe is another word they sometimes use. It's not truly reversed because it's like the Sun card. I think of it that way, just the same way that the Sun card can't truly reverse. We just kind of lose track of the power that's out there and behind it, and we lose our sense of it, but it never leaves. I kind of feel like Gebo's the same way. It just never really reverses as itself. It's just that sometimes we can become imbalanced in how we give and how we receive, what we're looking to receive and what we're looking to give in any particular partnership or union. Another concept that's really strongly associated with Gebo is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the greatest gift, is what they usually start talking about when you read about that concept. Love and forgiveness are two very emotional atmospheres that I would strongly tie to this particular ruin. And forgiveness in particular shows up here probably more so than any of the other ruins. So it's noteworthy. It's worth talking about in this moment. So what else did we get to? Let's see. In the Norse tale, let's talk for a minute a little bit more about ring giving. We have the Norse tale Brunhild. Don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'm trying. And in Brunhild, we have this hero Sigurd. He takes a ring from a dragon's hoard and then later finds Brunhild, frees her from this armor, reveals her to be this amazing, warrior princess, really, truly, not Xena, but one of them like that. And he pledges his love immediately and gives her this ring as a form of his token of pledging himself to her. So that's yet another tale where we see ring giving and love being attached to the gift itself. What else do I have to tell you? It looks like we've almost covered all of it by talking as fast as I can and drinking lots of coffee. So yes, those are some of the concepts that we see behind Gebo. Gebo, there, can we catch it? You see the X, you see it. So Gebo itself looks like an X. It means gift. It means to bind yourself with that gift, what it means to give a gift, what it means to show love, forgiveness, generosity, and loyalty, feasance to someone or something, whether that be a person or a larger concept like to your king and your country, or your, when I say king and country, that makes me think of very English, and this is of course very Germanic Norse belief, but still you get the concept. So that is the binding aspect, and Gebo is the gift itself. It's one of my favorite ruins whenever Gebo comes about as a daily. And I would encourage you, if you're interested in starting to learn your ruins the same way that we learned a lot of our tarot, do pull a daily ruin for yourself if you would like. Go get yourself a set. What kind of set do I get? Do I have to get wood? Some people say yes, it must be made of wood. Some people prefer the stone ones. Those became very popular for a very long time. They certainly last a long time. These particular ones, because they have a brittle quality, and you can hear how they are in my bag, they do have a tendency to knock against each other and get chips in them from time to time, like I was showing you. So it doesn't matter which particular type of ruin you want to get, just as long as they're called to you. Certain people will have very strong callings toward a certain type of stone or a certain type of wood, very much so. And those are also something that runic practice can encourage for you. So if those associations make immediate sense to you, they make immediate sense to a lot of other people out there as well. So let's go ahead and start with some ruins this year for 2022. We won't go straight through ruins because there are 24 of them, like I said, and we're not going to spend the entire year just doing runic, but there's going to be a lot of runic video resources coming up this year. Not exclusively, but we'll make it a point to make that an entire series for you to have for your research as well. Thank you for joining me today, as always, and let's keep listening.